So welcome to round 1 of the Sunday's Legacy Challenge. I'm playing against Darthkid, and the opponent usually plays blue-red Delver decks, tempo decks in general. So my opening hand has 2 lands, a bit of card draw, Once Upon a Time and the Green Sun's Zenith, so I would say a solid keep. And I'm on the draw here. Could be a bit slow, but against Delver decks or tempo, it should be okay, because it's possible to find a land with a Once Upon a Time. So here the opponent plays Ponder and Watery Grave, so it indicates that it's not Blue-Red Delver, but Shadow, Death Shadow. And here I play the land, fetch, and take the forest, and then cast the Once Upon a Time. I wanted to do that because I already have lands, but I wanted to find a 1-mana creature, most likely, or even better, to get access to Gia's Cradle, and then it's a close call, but in the end I want additional mana, especially as I drew the Natural Order, and with this additional land I am probably be able to resolve the Natural Order unless it's discarded. So I think the additional mana is okay here. I also have the untapped land to cast the Elvish Visionary next turn, but this turn I want to lead with the Green Sun's Zenith. So taking the Gia's Cradle totally makes sense. And the opponent dazes my Green Sun's Zenith, so he gets far behind in tempo here. And then, to be as mana efficient as possible, I decide to cast a 2-drop here. Makes sense for sure. So then the opponent brainstorms and then let it resolve, casting Thoughtseize the next turn, and then they discard the Elvish Reclaimer. And here I have the luck to top deck another land, and then I'm able to cast the Elvish Reclaimer, but it gets Force of Will, pitching the Murktide Regent. They play another discard spell, and discarding my Natural Order, because they don't have any interaction anymore. And here I cast the Glimpse of Nature, which I drew the turn before, and then the opponent concedes after I play the Heritage Druid, because they know that they also have the Elvish Visionary, and I could have drawn a bunch of cards there. So very easy game 1. Then let's go to game 2. So here the starting hand is very aggressive, so I have multiple 1-mana creatures, and I'm able to have 2 or 3 elves in play by turn 2, so not really interactive. I don't have any removal against Death Shadow anyway, because the Shriekmaws are not that useful in the matchup. But I decided to bring in 4 Thoughtseize to be able to discard cards from the hand. Either I can get a Plague Engineer by that, or maybe also a Murktide Regent or a Death Shadow, so trading 1 mana for an opposing threat seemed okay for me, and the Heritage Druids are not that necessary because they have the Plague Engineer, and I don't want to overcommit the board to that. So then the opponent starts with a Thoughtseize, discards my Shepherd. I cast the Elf, which I have multiple of. Then the opponent plays him to Turak, discarding a land and the Virtual Rangers for me. And here I wanted to be aggressive. Maybe I could have drawn a 1-mana elf, and then I could have drawn 2 cards and have 3 elves in play by turn 3. But the opponent has a Daze and counters the Glimpse of Nature. Then I just cast the Heritage Druid. So then the opponent plays the Wasteland, and I attack for 2, or I want to attack for 2. But the opponent plays the Snuff out for the Shepherd. And then the opponent played the Murktide Regent. And here I have a blank by drawing the Glimpse of Nature, so I have to pass the turn. And the opponent just plays a land, no removal and no Plague Engineer at that point. And here I have multiple options, so as I have the Natural Order in hand, probably the best way would have been to use the 2 mana here and then just take an Heritage Root out of the deck. Oh no, I'm just talking bullshit because I bought out 2 Heritage Roots here, so getting that out of the deck wouldn't be an option. So I want to have additional mana, and I just could have gotten a 1 mana elf like Elvish Reclaimer, so I have one more turn here before using the Elvish Reclaimer next turn and then get a Cradle. But then I decided to just attack for 2 and cast the Green-Sun Zenith for 0 to get in Triad Arbor out of the deck. And with the Triad Arbor out of the deck, I have a lot of options to be able to produce more mana next turn and have the option to cast a Natural Order next turn. But the opponent wastelanded the Triad Arbor there. And then I drew the Progenitus. So unfortunately was mana short, so very close, but the opponent had very good interactive hands. He just cast Thoughtseize, Hinted to Work, Daze and Snuff out, and then had a Murktide which was 7/7, so it was a 3-turn clock, but it was fast enough there. So then we go to game 3. And then the opponent must have learned by the game 3 what the specific card exactly does in the matchup, or what it does at all. So here the first hand was too much lands and too few threats, so I decided to take a mulligan. And here I have a very risky hand, let's say, so because too few lands, and I hope to redraw a land next turn or with the next 2 draws. If I don't find the land with the next 2 draws, the game is basically over. And here I play the Shepherd to disable their possibility of countering cards. And fortunately I had the first draw was the fetch land, so I was able to attack with the Shepherd, then cast the Elvish Visionary in the next turn. And so here I have a good board and especially a Cradle in hand. So here the opponent plays Powder Keg, and for those who doesn't know what Powder Keg does, is like it's a similar card to the Ratchet Bomb, and at the beginning of their upkeep they may use a fuse counter and put it on the Powder Keg, and you can sacrifice it to destroy each artifact and creature with mana value equal to the number of fuse counter on the Powder Keg. So here in this situation, I assumed they will use the Powder Keg for 1 next turn. So here I just attacked for 2 damage. And then as I had the Green-Sun Zenith, so I have a couple of lines here to do. So priority for me was to stick the Christ on the battlefield and not giving the opponent too much targets for the Powder Keg. So I could have played the Reclaimer and could have cast the Green Sun Zenith for the Civ Chris anyway, but I decided to keep more cards in hand. And I cast the Zenith and take the Grist out of the deck. And then the opponent probably thought that he can get the Grist with the Powder Keg, but it only destroys creatures and artifacts, not planeswalkers. So here I play nothing. So I keep the Glimpse of Nature and the Reclaimer. So he had to decide to use just the Powder Keg for one, but as he's also using the Death Shadow, it would be bad for him, or at least he had to use it immediately. And I didn't play the second threat into the Powder Keg, so he didn't really had a reason to crack the Powder Keg there. And that's why he upticked the Powder Keg. And here I can cast the Glimpse of Nature, and as he has already 2 counters on it, I'm able to make use of my other cards here. And yeah, for sure I wanted to draw cards then, but he has the dress down, and with the dress down they disabled my Elthal Shepherd, and then he could counter the Glimpse of Nature, preventing me to draw more cards. And here I decide to play more creatures on the battlefield, and then use the Grist and sacrifice a token to destroy the Death Shadow. So it would be a 13/13 there. And then I attack with all my creatures. And then the opponent takes a counter on it and sacrifices it because he thought that he is able to destroy the Grist. But as he realized that it's not possible, he just scooped. So yeah, there's a big difference. Powder Keg doesn't destroy planeswalkers, but Ratchet Bomb does. So not really sure if it's better there, but a Ratchet Bomb can also be used to destroy Blood Moon, for example. But Powder Keg sure destroys the construct tokens of Urza Saga and also the artifact lands. Not really sure which card is really better there, but both have benefits for sure. Yeah, that was match 1.